When your favorite character is top tier, it's a wonderful feeling, but sometimes the developers overdo it and now your character has the player base upset, which means it's time for a nerf. But what happens when the nerf goes too far?
Bruh.
Well, you end up with nerfs that many players consider overkill.
Huh?
So today, let's review the top 5 nerfs in Mortal Kombat 11. And these nerfs range from unnecessary to complete overkill. And then for a future video, I'd love to extend this topic to cover every NetherRealm game. So please do me a favor in the comments below and post the biggest character nerf that you can think of from past NetherRealm games. I bet if we put all of our heads together, we can find the biggest nerfs in every single game. Alright, and without any further ado, let's begin the countdown. So first up, we have Sonya's air control. So this move is an anti-air, but it was also a great way to extend combos for the cost of 1 bar. And even though Sonya didn't need this move for damaging combos, it was always a great way to add some extra damage to an already good combo. And then in the corner, this move truly shined and gave her some really good damage. And then on top of extending combos, this move also meant that anytime you jumped, Sonya could catch it and then get a full combo going at the cost of just 1 bar. Or put simply, you never wanted to jump on this character because air control would win most of the time, and every single time she got you, she would get a combo. However, then the nerf hammer happened, and now when you amplify, you no longer get a follow-up. You get a bit more damage to be sure. Right there was 140, and by default it's a bit less at 90. But as you can see, the combo extension no longer exists, and that made a lot of Sonya players a bit upset because she didn't really need that nerf. It kinda came out of nowhere. And not only did this nerf limit her options for extending combos, but it also meant she could no longer combo an airborne opponent, at least not if she started with this move. So even as an anti-air, this move now got a lot weaker because now the only way to extend combos is if you get the crushing blow, and the crushing blow only happens on counter hit. And don't get me wrong, this crushing blow leads to crazy damaging combos, but the fact that you need the crushing blow to extend combos out of the air does make Sonya a bit weaker when it comes to her anti-air game. But when all is said and done, Sonya does still have some very good combos. She doesn't need air control. She still has above average damage. In fact, she's one of the most damaging characters in the game. And that's why this nerf is first on our list. It didn't really change how Sonya plays that much. It did make her anti-air game a lot weaker, and it did limit some of her combo routes, but she still has really good combos at the end of the day, and she's still a good character. And then for number 4, we have all of Johnny Cage's plus frames, and I'm not joking. Basically every string or attack this guy had that gave him plus frames was taken away. And for me personally, that nerf came out of nowhere because they already nerfed his rising star, which was one of the main reasons he was top 5 at one point in the game. But apparently NetherRealm thought that nerf wasn't enough, so they took away the plus frames on a lot of his stuff. So for example, these projectiles. As you can see, they hit high and will still miss on a lot of characters. In fact, a lot of female characters can duck them while still holding block. In fact, Johnny Cage himself can duck these. Or in other words, these projectiles were already based on matchups. Certain characters could avoid the plus frames entirely, but even so, NetherRealm took them away, and now you're at +1, sometimes minus, it just depends. Whereas beforehand, you were +6, which meant Johnny Cage could go in with something like this, and if they pressed any buttons, they would usually get counter hit. But sadly, that's no longer the case. Now at the most, they're around +1, and even strings like this, his 124 is now only +1. It used to be +6 or something awesome like that. Basically, any string Johnny Cage had that made him at +4 or higher was reduced to around +1 or sometimes minus depending on how it's spaced. And once again, this change did not have a huge impact on Johnny Cage, which is why it's only number 4 on this list. But again, it felt like it came out of nowhere because the guy had just been nerfed pretty severely, and NetherRealm thought, nah, let's take away all these plus frames. And part of me wonders if NetherRealm just wants this game to be a lot more defensive, and as a result, Johnny Cage's plus frames just had to go. And then for number 3, we have the forward 3-4 nerf on Xiao Khan. Man, this one was a real kick to the gut when I discovered it. I'm actually going to make an entire video on Xiao Khan and why he's remained one of the worst characters in the game since it came out. But for now, let's just talk about this string. You will never win. So in one of the updates, NetherRealm actually listened to the fans and made this move special cancelable. Hallelujah, it's his best mid, it's 10 frames, it reinforces his plus frames for frame traps, all that good stuff, and now it can start combos. Yes, hallelujah. Or at least that's what everybody thought at first, until we discovered the second hit is now -12 on block. It's fully punishable, and that was not the case before because it wasn't necessary. Because you see, this move already had a flawless block gap, so against good players, it didn't even work on block anyway. But even so, NetherRealm thought, nah, let's kick him in the gut again and make it fully punishable. And as a result, Xiao Khan now has to make a decision. He has to go for a throw, which to be be fair, is unblockable and does catch players at a casual level, but as you can see, only 13%, so lower than a regular throw, but it can still be ducked like a regular throw, which means a crushing blow for the opponent if they duck it, or just go for a full combo punish, either or. So if Xiao Khan thinks the opponent's gonna duck it, he has to commit to a very fast special move instead, but nearly every single special move Xiao Khan has is unsafe on block, and the ones that aren't unsafe can be interrupted. So once again, Xiao Khan has to guess every single time, and if he's wrong, the opponent gets a full combo punish. It's honestly not easy being a Xiao Khan main lately. And just to add insult to injury, they didn't even remove the flawless block gap. It's still there, so the string got better because you can cancel it, but it got worse overall because on defense it's really bad now. And once again, I must insist on telling you this is his best mid, and they still felt the need to nerf it like this. It was ridiculous. Thankfully, at a casual level, Xiao Khan is still really fun. His combos hurt a lot, he has some pretty good range, and he's deceptively fast, especially from mid-screen. But when it comes to high-level play, this nerf hurt him a lot, and once again, it was a real punch to the gut because the character was already low tier, and this nerf just helped make him bottom tier. And then for number 2, we have Jacky's counter throw, and this used to be the worst nerf in the game, but sadly one character now takes the top spot. But let me tell you why this nerf was just overkill to the extreme. So this custom ability had a pretty simple premise. If the opponent threw you, you could break their throw, and then for the cost of 1 bar, you could throw them back, and the resulting throw did the same damage as a normal throw, 140. And this counter throw actually had 2 different options. You could break an arm, or you could break a leg, but there was a crushing blow that happened if you broke them in a certain order. So you did the arm first, and then the leg break second. And if you pulled that off successfully, you would actually get a crushing blow that did some decent damage. But keep in mind that also cost you 2 bars, and the opponent had to go for the throw in the first place. So if they just didn't throw you, you would never see this crushing blow anyway. As you can see, it's a pretty cool premise. If the opponent likes to throw you all the time, you can break their throw and then throw them right back and deal the same damage. It was honestly a really fun mechanic, and it cost you 1 bar, so it seemed pretty fair. However, unfortunately, NetherRealm did not feel the same way, and as a result, this move was nerfed super hard and now only does 100 damage, otherwise known as 10%. And to me, that's just ridiculous, because think about what has to happen for this move to work in the first place. 1, the opponent has to throw you. 2, you have to break the throw, which is already a 50-50 guess. You must guess correctly. And then after you do guess correctly, you still have to have a bar to even throw them back in the first place, otherwise you're not getting the move at all. And after that, even if you do guess correctly, the opponent can still break your counter throw even though you spent a bar, and check this out, it does damage to Jacky. So once again, you broke the opponent's throw and spent a bar, and even so, they can throw you off and even do damage to you. You spent a bar and you took damage for it. Just think about how crazy that is. And what hurts even more is this move is a custom ability, so of course pretty much no one uses it, but I think even if this move was there by default, you still would hardly ever see it used, if at all. Because I'm not joking when I tell you NetherRealm killed this move. Who wants to spend 1 bar for just 10% damage? And then on top of that, you have to guess correctly twice in a row? Yeah, it's just not worth the hassle, so rest in peace this move. It's a really cool concept, but it's been completely killed. And that's why it's number 2 on this list. This move was nerfed so bad. And then for number 1, we have Edenian Razors. This move was nerfed so hard that it's pretty much become a meme amongst the Mortal Kombat players. So before the nerf, this move used to have 3 fans, but as you can see, it's now only 1, and if you want all 3, then you have to amplify. And as you probably guessed, most players don't feel like spending a bar just to have a move behave the way it used to. And then on top of that, keep in mind that this move replaces her fan lift, so Katana is already giving up 99% of her combo routes. And even so, NetherRealm still nerfed this move into the ground. And don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of players talk about how broken this move was, but for me personally, I never felt that it was. What this move could mostly do is that if released correctly, it left you plus on block, maybe +1 or +2, but keep in mind, Katana's a pretty slow character, so even if she was at +2, she really doesn't have very many threatening frame traps, so yeah, she might be at +2 if you have godlike timing, but what can she really do in that situation? And once again, for me personally, the best I could ever do is be +1, and even getting +1 isn't very easy. To me, this move wasn't broken because it made Katana plus, it was kind of busted because you never knew if she was plus or not. The game didn't have any way of showing you. Because think about it, how on earth would you know when the opponent released the button? You didn't know if they were safe. They could have actually been punishable if they mistimed it or there was a lag spike or something, but you as the opponent had no earthly way of knowing, and that's why the move was busted to me. And I mean busted literally, as in it functions in a way that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think it was overpowered, I just think the way it functioned was really bizarre. And even though a lot of players players complain about how good this move was, there are certain players like Aziz on Twitter who devote entire videos on how to beat this move back when it was apparently overpowered, and trust me, there's a bunch of ways to avoid it. Now to be fair, I'm just one guy, so maybe some players did encounter edenian razors and it was super frustrating, but it takes away her combo option, so I think it was completely fair. Or at the very least, there's a bunch of different ways you could have nerfed this move without having it cost bar. You could have made it to where the chip damage was much lower, you could have made it to where like the number of fans determined the frame data instead of some weird release block nonsense. Honestly, there's a lot of things NetherRealm could have done instead of making you spend a bar just to have this move behave normally. Because once again, it was only good on block. On hit, you weren't getting nearly as much damage as you would if you were playing any other variation. So its uses were already very specific and also fairly tough to pull off, but NetherRealm still nerfed it anyway, and as a result, pretty much no one is ever going to use this move ever again, not even as a joke. So unlike Jacky's counter throw, which is fundamentally useless but could still be fun to troll people, Katana's isn't even good for that. Why would you want to give up all of your combos just to use a very, very bad move that requires meter to even be decent? So that's why, in my opinion, the nerf to edenian razors was the biggest one in Mortal Kombat 11 history. But please let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What nerfs do you think were overkill in this game? And then while you're down there, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, make sure to finish that combo by suplexing that subscribe button. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.